What's up everybody, my name is Dreamer, and as you probably know, Halloween is slowly approaching, so I wanted to show you this spooky rhythm track that I made that has the Halloween vibe. Let's go. Okay, so we just start off with this spooky piano. We have some atmosphere here as well. And I also recorded myself saying the intro of Dark Souls, because I feel like Dark Souls is a game that's, well, because it has a lot of monsters and very like spooky atmosphere to it, I thought that was fitting for the theme.
In the age of ages, the world was unformed.
Yeah, and I just keep going until I say this.
But then there was fire.
And then we come into like this part right here, which is a pretty cool part. I think it has a lot of like personality in a way.
But then there was fire.
So we just play these chords on the piano. We have this background thing here. This is actually something you're supposed to have like in the background of a dubstep drop. But I found that this one worked really well in the background of just this middle part right here. I've only pitched it down an octave just to give it more of that dark sound. I have this very simple drums. Just a hat, another hat, and a snare. And I also have this respace. It's just a standard respace except for one thing. But I'm just gonna show how to make it, even though I probably made like a million clips on how to make a respace. But yeah, you just put the voices up to 16, you detune it a little bit. You put a low pass filter on it. But the thing that I've done with this one is that I've put an LFO on the drive of the distortion. This is set to 8 bars, which is the entire duration of this part. The cool thing is that this will increase the drive of the distortion up until the end, and this makes it transition really well into the build-up. So you can hear how it just gets more and more distorted. And then we get into the build-up. We have just a standard build drum loop thing, a riser, this kick that just keeps on going, and then also the snare. So all the build-up drums combined sounds like this. We also have some of the elements from the drop implemented into the build-up just to give like a little heads up of what's coming. And then that just goes on repeat. And then of course we have some risers, and I also play the piano in the background. Then I have this fine little pre-dub right here.
Welcome to the dungeon.
That plays before the drop. So yeah, let's just get on with the drop. The drums are fairly simple. I mean, it's rhythm. We have this kick that I've intentionally made clipping. As you can see here, it slightly clips. That just makes, yeah, I'll show you the effect that it actually makes later. Then we have these snares here. We have this one standard dubstep snare, layered with this very snappy clap, very tight clap. It just gives it a lot more tightness, kind of. Then we have this hi-hat combined with this hi-hat and a crash. So all the drums together sounds like this. And yeah, as I said, this kick is clipping. I'm just gonna remove this soft clipper so that it doesn't clip, and then you'll hear what it actually does to the drum loop. It kind of creates this very slight distortion whenever it hits, and I just find that effect really cool, so that's why I decided to implement it. Then we have this thing right here. This is a serum bass, very standard. This LFO is controlling pretty much everything there is to control. It's controlling the wavetable position, the bending, the level or the volume of both the sub and the oscillator. It's controlling the cutoff and the fatness to the high pass filter. It also controls the mix of the hyper and dimension, the drive, the mix of the phaser and the depth and frequency. It's controlling the EQ just to create this vowel-y kind of sound. Without the EQ, it sounds like this. But when I first made the song, I found that it lacks a lot of power when I just have this in the beginning, kind of like this. So I added this thing right here as well, which sounds kind of like a very distorted brass shot. It's actually not that hard to make. The only thing that the LFO is controlling is the wavetable position, the FM from B, and the level. And you can see that I have a Flig L6 Plus filter, and these effects. It makes a really cool effect, or a really cool sound. So these two laid on top of each other sounds like this. Then we have like the main bass. It's very simple actually. It's just... This is also kind of a cool bass. We have two LFOs, two different LFOs. So the first LFO controls the most things. It controls the resonance of the Flig minus filter, which is making that metallic sound. The level of the two oscillators, the level of the noise. I decided to use some white noise because it kind of lacked a little bit of high end. It's controlling the mix of the compression and the drive of the distortion, and also making this yoy 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 sound. I also have a high pass filter on here, just controlling a little bit of the cutoff to get a little bit more of the same yoy feeling to it. This one controls the wavetable position of the two oscillators, but this one is set to a half step instead of a quarter step. And what this is doing is that this LFO is twice as fast as this one, which means that the volume envelope will go wham 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 wham. But when I control the wavetable position, it will be at a different position for every wow it does. As you can, if you just pay attention to this one, you see that yoy yoy. Why did Siri just say that I have no contacts that match with Pedersen? Okay, whatever. It is in a different position whenever this one is doing like a loop, and that makes it kind of like a yee yo kind of sound, like a seesaw in one way. So that's a very cool effect, and that you can use on your rhythm basses. Yeah, and then we just have a sub, kind of distorted, but this didn't have enough power for me, so I decided to add this thing here as well. Which is also a very cool patch that is very easy to make. This LFO here is controlling the cutoff, and as you can see, it's hardly anything. I'm using the reverb filter. I've massively detuned the oscillator and put a lot of voices on it, and the only effects that I have is hyper dimension. The hyper is turned all the way down almost, and the dimension is at around, I don't know how much that is, around 30% ish. And then the reverb I have actually cut out just because I thought it sounded cooler without any reverb in this particular instance. And yeah, that's pretty much it, except for this one. This one I made afterwards, because this is actually, as you can see, I made this as kind of like a trap lead. But yeah, I made this one, which is pretty much the same as the main bass, just to create that same bouncy feeling that you'll usually have with those rhythm basses. So that is pretty much all the sounds. I have this filler bass in here as well, actually, which sounds like someone is puking. This also is a very straightforward patch to make. It's not a lot of things going on here. I say, and I have an LFO for a lot of things. But it's not that difficult to make, even though it looks like there's a lot of things going on. That's pretty much the thing. And then I have this offbeat chant laid with this thing here. And that is pretty much the drop. I'm gonna show you a little bit of a preview, but not too much until the final end. That's everything you got. Yeah, and then we come into this part here. We just play the piano. It has some ambience. I also introduced some orchestral drums here, and then we come into this part, which is a lot like this one, but we introduce a few more elements, like this string section right here, and also some trap drums. These just add a lot more energy to this exact part, giving it a very like cool and epic feeling. Yeah, and then we come into the build up, and then we have the second drop here. Here I've changed the LFO so that it goes twice as fast. It goes now in 1/8 notes. So it's like this. Which is a really cool effect, I think, or a really cool way to make your drop hit a lot harder, the second drop. So it's just not the same drop again, but there's something changing and it has a lot more energy to it. But before I actually start the drop, I have this little break in between where I cut off the bass and just give a little bit of a preview of what's about to come. And this creates a lot of tension and excitement towards actually the main part. So if you just listen to this part right here, it sounds like this.
Happy Halloween!
And then the drop actually starts. So you're expecting the drop to hit here, and then it actually hits here, which is very satisfying to actually listen to. And that's pretty much the only difference I have made in this drop. But yeah, so this full song is out now on SoundCloud. I'm not gonna post this on Spotify or any like major streaming platforms, because I mainly release hip-hop because I want to rap as well. But yeah, this was a spooky rhythm track that I decided to make before Halloween. So before I play it, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, I would greatly appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing. And also leave a comment if you have any ideas that you want me to do in my future videos. But yeah, I'm gonna shut up now and let you listen to a little bit of a preview.
In the age of ages, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire.
Welcome to the dungeon.